It seemed almost inconceivable that the greatest driver of all time would end his illustrious career without driving for the greatest team of all time, but that was the way things were headed, until the dramatic announcement at the start of last season. Expectedly, a lot has been said and written about this historic transfer, but we have not come across any commentary highlighting the key factor that brought it about, that we have identified and will reveal in this video. This was essentially the story of a crazy ride by a boy from Stevenage who had a dream, shared his journey with Mercedes, and was now writing a new part with Ferrari. The opening to the first chapter of the Ferrari part, to a certain degree revolved around the author and two main protagonists, Toto Wolff, the Mercedes team principal, who had been Sir Lewis's boss for 12 seasons, and John Elkann, the Ferrari chairman who wanted the GOAT at all costs. It was an open secret that Ferrari coveted the GOAT, and the GOAT coveted Ferrari, but the stars did not align, and unless something dramatic happened, it was looking like he would have ended his career having only being powered by a Mercedes engine. But, before going further, we would like to urge those of you who haven't yet done so, to sign our online petition for an inquiry into the BBC and Channel 4's coverage of what happened in Abu Dhabi. A link has been provided in the description. If you are on X, then please repost our tweet. Thank you. Okay, back to the Ferrari part of the Lewis Hamilton story. After Mercedes threw a freak-off party to celebrate the theft of his 8th title and subsequently withdrew their appeal, many like us urged him to leave for Ferrari. However, we now know that it took until the winter of 2023, some 2 years later, for that wish to be granted. From the end of 2021 until then, Sir Lewis battled on at a struggling Mercedes, despite the fact that they were resistant to his suggestions. Indeed, he had signed a new 1+1 year contract with them in the summer of 2023, despite the fact that they declined to meet several of his terms. However, something happened in the winter to make him change his mind, and when he was asked after the stunning announcement the following February, he said, "In the summer we signed, and obviously I, at that time, saw my future with Mercedes. But an opportunity came up in the new year and I decided to take it." Well, what was that opportunity and how did it come up? It appears to us that that opportunity came at the intersection of Toto's obsession with dimming the GOAT's light, so that he and Mercedes could take more of the glory, and John Elkann's dogged and pragmatic pursuit of his target. On the one hand, there he was, at the head of a Ferrari that openly coveted the GOAT, so he cultivated a friendship with him and would periodically attempt to bring him to Maranello. On the other hand, there was Toto, the Michael Schumacher fan, whose former boss, Ross Brawn, had found to be untrustworthy. As we have shown in several videos, he would repeatedly betray Sir Lewis's trust, while amongst other things, suggesting that he would understand if the GOAT left for Ferrari. We have contended that this was his way of encouraging his driver to leave, the same way he did with Ross, because he was desperate to prevent him from surpassing Michael's 7 titles. He gave one away to his teammate in 2016, and as far back as 2019, he was letting it be known that he would understand if the then 5-time champion was interested in Ferrari. Speaking openly on the subject at the beginning of the 2019 season, he said, "Of course, and we also talked about it openly with each other. Ferrari is a phenomenal brand, the most prestigious in F1, and every driver dreams of winning a world championship with the Cavallina. I understand it perfectly." Notably, 2019 was in the middle of the Mercedes period of dominance, which was expected to last until 2022, when the new ground effect regulations would come into effect. So, this wishy-washy "I'd understand if he goes, but I'm hopeful he will stay," comes across as Toto trying to psych Sir Lewis into fancying a move to Ferrari to protect Schumacher's 7 titles. In 2021, he gave another of Sir Lewis's titles away, when he dropped the appeal within hours of the race ending, but waited several days before making the announcement. In 2023, he again tried to usher Sir Lewis out of the door, when amidst a poor Mercedes start to the season, he repeated his claim that he would understand if his driver wanted to leave. Interestingly, This was during the period that Sir Lewis's contract was coming up for renewal, and was therefore under negotiation. So, this comes across as Toto the sociopath, double-dipping as he tried to usher Sir Lewis out of the door, while setting the ground for lowballing his contract. At the time he said, "As a driver, if he wants to win another championship, he needs to make sure that he has the car, and if we cannot demonstrate that we can give him the car in the next couple of years, then he needs to look everywhere. I don't think that he's at that stage, but I would have no grouch if that happens in a year or two."
I don't think that Lewis will leave Mercedes. He's at the stage of a career where we trust each other. We have formed a great bond among each other, and I have no reason. We have no reason to doubt each other, even though this is a difficult spell. But so nice it will be when we come out of this valley of tears and come back to solid performances. As a driver, nevertheless, if he wants to win another championship, he needs to make sure that he has the car. And if we cannot demonstrate that we're able to give him a car in the next couple of years, then he needs to look everywhere. I don't think he's doing it at that stage, but I will have no grouch if that happens in a year or two.
Setting aside the fact that the GOAT did not need Toto's approval, because it was his story to write, whether the sheep in wolf's clothing had a grouch or not. But, the German was so confident in his ability to weave his web of deceit around his driver, that he completely ignored the close relationship with John that was hiding in the open. Living up to his reputation for pragmatism, John reportedly reached out to Sir Lewis in the spring of 2023, before he renewed his Mercedes deal in the summer. Against the backdrop of the highly publicized complaints that the GOAT had about the car, and the team's failure to heed his advice, it was folly for them to lowball him on the 2023 contract, with John lurking in the background. As should have been anticipated, John came back in the winter with an improved offer and car, and it was game set and matched to Ferrari. The irony of it all is that Toto had prophesied what was going to happen back in March, when he was double speaking in an interview. To start with, he had said that he didn't think that Sir Lewis would leave Mercedes, despite the fact that over the years he had repeatedly said he would understand if he did leave. So, why did he keep saying that he would understand if his driver left for Ferrari if he didn't think that he would leave Mercedes? Was he just playing up to the cameras or baiting Sir Lewis and Ferrari? Well, looks like they ended up calling his bluff, didn't they? In that ill-fated interview, Toto also said the GOAT was at the stage of his career where they trusted each other. This is a rather odd statement to make 10 years into the relationship. Shouldn't they have trusted each other from the outset? This appears to be a cognitively dissonant admission by the man with a reputation for being untrustworthy, that there were trust issues in the relationship with the GOAT, as exemplified by 2016 and 2021. Ironically, Toto's year or two comment came to pass, when just under a year later, Sir Lewis announced his departure to Ferrari. However, contrary to his earlier statements, Toto appeared to have a grouch about it, as he claimed he couldn't understand why the GOAT would change to another team. It would appear that he could not get his head around the fact that the GOAT's departure was a vote of no confidence, and a categoric statement that he had concluded that Ferrari had a better chance of providing him with a car capable of mounting a title run. Guess the irony was completely lost on the man who had offered the GOAT a 1+1 year contract because of his concerns about shelf life and cognitive sharpness, questioning why that same person couldn't wait a couple of years to see if they could give him a car capable of winning. It would also appear that he had taken it for granted that John would not be able to get Lewis. But maybe, just maybe, if he had treated the GOAT better, perhaps John would not have been able to get him. Forza Ferrari.